All aboard the hype train. Woo woo! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Glacial Geek video. I'm Phil, the Glacial Geek, and I'm coming here today to talk about, I think, something that all of us are experiencing right now, which is that we've all been securely positioned upon the hype train by GW over the last couple of months with all the information that they've been putting out, and things are starting to happen, that the pre-order is now in effect. The rules have been released, and they're starting to release all the data cards with all the information about all the different armies that are coming out that they're going to have. So what do we do now? So everyone's on board, everyone's getting hyped, they're getting excited, they're getting salty because that's what we do apparently as gamers. But there's not a lot that we have to work with. We have whatever little information that we've been given and allowed to talk about, and that's kind of what we can work with at this point. And what do you do once you are securely or solidly on the hype train for 10th edition, but don't know what to do? Because you're sitting there looking at your models, you're sitting there looking at the GW website with all of the models that are there to buy, you're thinking about what's going to change, you're looking at the rules, and you kind of have this like half-formed idea of what is going to happen and how things are going to be going and doing, and you come to the realization that you're kind of at this impasse, at this like holding point in the game, or in this whole situation where you're not able to act upon a lot of things, but you want to, because you're getting excited and you want this to happen, and it becomes very easy at this point to kind of go off the rails. To continue the train analogies. And I think that it's important to keep in mind things that are good to do during this period of hype, and things that I think are bad to do during this period of hype. So the first thing we'll talk about the good things. The good thing is to be excited about all this new information that's coming your way. So there's a new rule set that's out that you can look through, that you can see the changes that are happening here. They're starting to come out with the new data cards for all the different armies. You can see how things are kind of flowing and how things are changing. It's all very exciting to get on board and read these things and see these things, and you can listen to people talk about what they think about it. But the reality is that until you start to actually form your own opinion on these things, see the rules, read the information, and kind of like synthesize it yourself, you're going to be in a situation where you can't really act upon anything. So right now, the best thing that you could do with this new edition coming out, and with only limited information that is out there, is to consume that little limited amount of information. So read the rule set, download them, read the data cards, understand what's happening here. If you happen to be with an army that already has its data cards out, perfect. If not, it's good to see what other armies are happening to them. Take a look at how things are interacting, what they're doing with weapons, what they're doing with kind of the survivability. All those different things are good to keep an eye on and understand. So what it does is it starts to get you into the mindset of what this new edition is, and it allows you to kind of come up with a game plan to move forward once you have all the information, once you have what you need to really kind of understand what's going on with this new edition. With that in mind, a thing not to do at this point in the hype train movement is to overreact. And there are a lot of people that will be very quick to overreact. They will point out one thing and they'll say, oh, this game's broken, it's a ruin, this is perfectly exactly what I would have expected. And you're basing that information off of zero games played. You're basing that information off of zero real-world experience with this, and you don't see how things are interacting. You don't see the points. You don't see what units can take them. You don't see what units can be buffed by them, what units can't be buffed by them, kind of their fall points that might occur there. Keeping in mind all this information is not to you yet, and it's not to the people that really are going to make these decisions. If you start going off, just making knee-jerk reactions and going off the rails, it becomes a situation where you're just going to leave yourself in a bad mood, and that's all. You're not actually going to be able to accomplish anything. You're not actually making good decisions. You're not actually making any headway into 10th edition. All you're doing is setting yourself up to be upset, and that's the reality of it. No one's going to know what's broken in this game until it's been played for a little bit. Nobody. And anyone who says that they know differently, in my opinion, is wrong. I think that they're wrong. And until we see how things play out, until we see how things actually interact with each other, until we see how the points work with the powers and the abilities and how it all synergizes, I don't think that anyone right now can really form a proper understanding of how it goes. Even people who have early access to this information, it's still in a very vacuum situation that they're being able to process this information. They're not facing off against other people. They're just talking with their friends that also have this information. So while they might be more inclined to be better knowledgeable about what's happening, they don't have the whole picture of what this edition is going to be. So at this point, going off half-cocked, I think, is just going to lead to you being upset and not actually allow you to do anything positive or productive for going into this next edition. So with that, another good thing to do is to evaluate what you have with your army. So see what models you have painted, see what units you have painted, see what kind of HQs you have, what kind of characters you have, what kind of troops you have, all of these different things, what vehicles you have. See what you have. This is a good time to just reevaluate what you have, because by the end of an edition, you kind of have your list that you play, and you have the same models that you play. You kind of have an understanding of how everything works at this point because you've been playing it for years, this edition for years, and you know what you play in your army list. But there are a lot of other models that I'm sure you have either unbuilt or built and primed or built, primed, painted, and just on a shelf somewhere sitting there because they weren't much used to in 9th edition. This is a good time to kind of take a step back, see what you have, and evaluate what you have so you can know, once you get the information, you can understand what it is that you have and start to come up with the synergies and the lists and all the permutations that are going to be occurring in that first couple months of the edition. You know what you have to work with. You know what models you have. You know what models you have to build. You know what models that you have to paint, and you have an understanding of your base location for this edition, so that you can actually start to make permutations, as opposed to just like working in a vacuum. Work with what you have and see what you have and come up with an understanding. So you might see a unit and be like, oh, it would be great if I had this unit and they could do that. But you might also have another unit that can do something very similarly, and maybe it's less points, or maybe it's more points, but it has like another little nuance to it that allows you to do something, but it does a similar function, and it allows you, especially in that first part of the edition, to kind of hit the ground running with models doing what you want them to do, and seeing how that kind of gameplay goes before you start investing a ton of money into units that maybe the gameplay and the game style is not what you like. So see what you have, understand the models that you are working with, and then you can kind of hit the ground running once you have all the information to start putting together lists. And along those same lines, something that you shouldn't do is go out and buy a ton of models. Like right now, you don't have the information for what you really want to do. If there's a model out there that you love the look of and you just want to build and paint it and you just kind of want to have it, for your collection and for your army, sure, why not? Go ahead and do it. Like right now is, it's always time to hobby, there's no reason not to hobby. But if you are thinking about going out and buying units, buying models because you think that they're going to become like these Grand Slam units in 10th edition, now's not the time to do that. Maybe in a couple weeks, maybe once all the information is dropped, once the points have dropped, once your index is dropped, once you have an understanding, once you've gotten some games under your belt so you know how the game actually flows and plays, how the missions play out. Once you have that information, then you can go out and maybe buy a big purchase of units or an army or something like that. But right now, until you have a better understanding of what's going on, you're kind of buying in the dark, and that's a quick way to get some models that are just going to end up in your pile of shame. And that's not what anybody wants, especially at the beginning of a new edition. You kind of want to hit the ground running. You want to be on the positive train. You want to keep you want to turn the hype train, get the connecting train over into the positive train and go forward with that in your modeling and your gaming and in everything. So we want to positively work on what models that we need to buy for our army to play the way we want them to, if you're thinking about a gaming perspective. So don't go out and buy a whole new army. Don't go out and buy tons of units thinking you know what's going to happen yet, because quite frankly, nobody does. And until you have that information, that money is better spent saved until you do have that better information. So essentially what I'm saying right now with all of this, with the hype train, with everything going with 10th edition, we are almost there. All the information's coming out and it's gonna be known soon, and we're gonna be playing games, and there are gonna be tons of people playing 10th edition very, very soon. And with that information, there's gonna be a lot that we can do from there. But right now, it's basically a situation of kind of like holding pattern. But not just holding pattern to make yourself upset, holding pattern to allow yourself to be excited. Because enjoy the mystery, enjoy the excitement of this whole brand new edition. Because at this point, nobody has a better record in 10th edition than anyone else. Everyone's at tabula rasa, everyone's the same at this point. So until we start playing games, you can enjoy the fact that you are undefeated in 10th edition and enjoy that experience and enjoy the release of information, enjoy the new models, enjoy the new rules, enjoy everything, and just kind of let it, like, absorb it and get excited, because that's the best way to be about this game in general, and especially at the beginning of a new edition that has so much potential for us to be able to just enjoy a whole new thing. So, quite frankly, I'm firmly on board the hype train, and I'm getting ready very soon to transfer at Gaming Junction onto the cool fun boy train or something along those lines. I think my train analogies have finally hit the end of the line. Got him. But let me know what you're doing now in this like kind of like no man's land where there's like drips and drabs of information, but nobody knows everything that's going on. And you're kind of sitting there wondering what the next steps are. Let me know what your steps are currently, and let me know if any of this was any help to you at all. So, I hope you guys have all enjoyed this. I certainly have. I've been Phil, the Glacial Geek, as always. And until next time, stay safe and have fun.